I'd like to invite up to the platform Alan Craig.
Thank you very much indeed. It's a real pleasure to be with you. Just before I start, and I hope I will be fairly brief with the main points that I want to make this morning or indeed this afternoon, I'd just like to clarify one thing that the chairman said. She said that the party there's legal action being taken against the party. I just want you to know that legal action is not being taken against the party. Some colleagues and I are taking legal action against the NEC as individuals. Legal action that is aimed to get Gerard Batten onto the ballot paper, and the NEC has the right to simply change its mind, correct its mistake, put Gerard on the ballot paper, and we will then immediately withdraw the legal action. But it is not against the party. However, I don't want to talk about internal things, I want to talk about external things. And the one thing about UKIP, throughout its existence, it has always been a party of courage. It has always been a party that will not bow the knee to political correctness or to what the mainstream media think we ought to say, but has been willing to be controversial and to say what needs to be said. As Carl was saying, and others have said, we need to be the truth tellers. Now, on your seat, there was a leaflet. You'll see this leaflet that some colleagues and I drew up earlier this year about grooming gangs. It refers to what I believe is the greatest social crime for the last 200 years, whereby up and down the country, and I mean literally up and down the country, from Newcastle and further north, right down to Plymouth in the south, gangs of predominantly Muslim men, Pakistani Muslim men, but not only, but predominantly those, have abused, raped, and brutalized predominantly white English underage girls. It has happened time and time again. I've done a lot of research, and if I say to you, I believe over the last 30 or 40 years, something like 250,000 girls have been raped and abused and brutalized. I think that is no exaggeration. Sarah Champion, who is the MP for Rotherham, herself reckons 1 million have been brutalized and raped. Now, I'm not going to look at the particular issue itself. What I'm saying is this leaflet here puts some of the responsibility where it is due, because it is absolutely clear. And incidentally, if you want to know more about this particular issue, if you go to the Support for the Family table outside, there was a book there called Easy Meat, and it'll give you all the facts and figures you need to know about this huge social crime. But what is interesting is, and the proof is out there all over the place, that while this crime has been going on, in predominantly Labour local authorities across the North and Midlands, not only, but predominantly Labour local authorities, those social services, their children's services and so on, have known this has been happening. They have known all about it, but for politically correct reasons, because they didn't want to be seen to be racist and other reasons, they have not tackled it. Now, the purpose of this leaflet is to highlight that. We don't mention the gangs at all. We mention simply the Labour Party's responsibility for this crime. They turned the other cheek. They did not turn their looking the other way. They did not fill their responsibilities, their duty of care towards the children in their local authority area. Everywhere, wherever you go, you can name the authorities. The best one to have a look at is, of course, Rotherham, because that's best known. And if you doubt what I'm saying, get hold of a book called Broken and Betrayed by Jane Senior. It tells you all about the information that was made available to the local authority, and they did nothing. Now, the reason why I raise this now is very simple, and I'm well aware we are at Eastbourne, and I do so. The party authorities were very good. They allowed my colleagues and I to design and to distribute this leaflet. And we want to get it, come the autumn, we want to get it rerun and republished. But I was told by the authorities that when I was promoting it, I could promote it around branches in the North and Midlands, but please don't promote it around branches in the Southeast and the Southwest, because I was told by the authorities in the party that there are people in UKIP who object to us raising the issue at all. They think it is far too controversial and we shouldn't raise it. So I have come to you here in Eastbourne, the Southeast region, saying, please will you support us? I recognise the Labour Party is not so strong in the South, and that is what this leaflet is aimed at, the Labour Party. It's not so strong in the South, but nonetheless, I would like to know, when we go for reprint, that the whole of UKIP, North, South, East and West, is behind us when we start holding the Labour Party to account for what has happened to these girls. Now, my second point is this. My second major point is this. It's not about the grooming gangs, but a separate one. But again, it's about the state and children, and that is my topic. The second point I want to make is, thank you, yes. The second issue I want to raise is in our 2015 manifesto, that was to cast your mind back 4 years to our 2015 manifesto, generally but probably wrongly attributed to Suzanne Evans, but nonetheless, whatever. It was reckoned to be our best manifesto ever, and of course it was before the Brexit referendum. There was a little paragraph in there which wasn't particularly noticed, but has become increasingly important in the intervening 4 years. It's said in there, and has been repeated in every manifesto since the 2017 general election, and in Gerard Batten's interim manifesto published last year. It's said in there that UKIP will ban all sex education in primary schools. UKIP will ban all sex education in primary schools. And please note, we're talking about primary schools. We're talking about up to the age of 11. I'm not referring to sex education amongst young adults in secondary schools. We're talking among prepubescent children, up to the maximum age of 11. That's what we're talking about here. And we have said we will ban all sex education. Well, of course, since then, we've seen the extraordinary rise of the whole transgender confusion movement. A transgender movement that goes not only from the top, but is now being promoted in our primary schools. Okay, so little Johnny goes home and says, "Mummy, my teacher says I could be really a girl deep inside me." And parents, and you'll know some of them yourself, and you've read about it in the newspapers, parents have to take the little child apart and combat the teaching that is coming from the schools, from the primary schools. I repeat, these are prepubescent children, okay? And they're being told you might be a little girl instead of being outwardly a little boy. And such confusion is being put to them. Ladies and gentlemen, in my view, this is child abuse. It is nothing else but child abuse. But also related to this, many of you will have seen, and so you at the dinner last night, one of that Katie Hopkins referred to it, because she's been there, as indeed I have. But you've seen about how in Birmingham, some Muslim mums and dads are withdrawing their children from sex education in the primary schools there. It's basically around 2, but the main one is Parkfield Primary School. And what they're objecting to is a program called No Outsiders, okay? And if you listen to the mainstream media, if you listen to the Department of Education, if you listen to the head teachers, if you listen to Birmingham City Council, if you listen to all the establishment figures up there, they'll tell you it's all about diversity and teaching our little children to respect difference, to respect the fact that some of the children will come from same-sex homes and so on and so forth. That's what they will tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is fig leaf language. It is nothing of the sort. Let me just tell you. No Outsiders was a program designed over 10 years ago, okay? And it was designed by universities and designed by individuals, including some of those who are currently teaching in schools in Birmingham. It was designed by them, and I just want to read you the words, okay? The program, as originally designed, its purpose was, let me just get the right words for you here. That's right. The words they use about the whole thing, they ran a seminar back in 2008, I think it was, when they were building and developing the whole No Outsiders program. And the seminar was entitled Queering the Body and Queering Primary Education. Queering the Body and Queering Primary Education. Which is also put on by one of their associated websites until recently, because they took it down by their embarrassment. It's known as Smashing Heteronormativity in Our Primary Schools. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking again about our primary schools. Innocent kids that aren't even aware they're sexual beings because they're prepubescent. That is the purpose behind this program. Let me just read to you one of the things, one of the seminars they were running as they were developing the program. One of the topics discussed was how might we, that's the proponents of the No Outsiders program, how might we create primary classrooms where genderqueer bodies and queer sexualities for children and teachers are affirmed and celebrated. Ladies and gentlemen, our primary schools and our primary school children are not there to receive this sort of sexualizing propaganda. Again, in my view, it is child abuse. So I finish. I remind you that we, as on many other things, as a party alone, have taken the lead on this. We have said we will ban all sex education in primary schools. Now, as a party, as we go forward, now it's becoming more and more controversial to say that. We have to decide where we stand. Because if we stick with our policies, which has been there since 2015, we will increasingly be accused of being transphobic, bigoted, fascist, I don't know, all the names that we'll get, okay? We're hate speech, hate speech against them and so on. Homophobic, we'll get all these insults. And you and I have to decide where we stand on this thing. Either we can cower in the corner and worry about what the mainstream media are going to say about us, or we can stand up for our children in primary schools, say, not in our name, we're not having part of it, we're going to stand and oppose it no matter what you say about us. Ladies and gentlemen, Ladies and gentlemen, I've made up my mind where I stand. I hope you'll join me. Thank you very much.